Another reason why I left religion, church, Christianity, and fundamentalism is that the church teaches mandatory tithing for members. I always found it ironic that one of the 7 deadly sins was greed. And yet, when you think of 3 of the organizations in America that are the most greedy, I always think of Wall Street, Washington, D.C., and church. I have never seen such greed like the way churches beg for money. If you've ever read the Bible, there's a story, I forget which gospel, but I'm sure it's in there more than once. The time where Jesus destroyed the outer temple area where the Pharisees were selling things, and the Pharisees would bring in and permit farmers, and basically it was like a flea market outside the temple, and Jesus went crazy and destroyed everything because the temple had ceased to be a prayer closet and it had been turned into Black Friday shopping. Even back during the time before AD, back when the Greeks and the Romans were around, greed has been around forever. As long as money and land have existed, greed has existed. Basically, every war that have ever existed is because of greed. They wanted more land, they wanted more money, they wanted to spread a religion to get more money. Every world religion has been sustained and survived due to money. Why religion gets involved in politics? Money. Why the biggest corporations in the world are led by people who are just unempathetic people? Money. Why do insurance companies kill off 5% of their clients every year? Money. What is the root of all evil? The love of money. And basically every murder mystery or every crime documentary I've ever watched is because of money. Male entitlement it always comes from money. Men are transactional people. And people who disagree with that, I don't think they've spent enough time with the average man. Men are transactional. There's a reason why 99% of people who visit sex workers are men. Okay? Men understand the value of the dollar. So why would church be any different when 98% of people in charge in church are men over the age of 21? And all religion is man-made. There's no such thing as the supernatural. God did not breathe on anyone to write anything. Every religious book, every historical book was written by a man. At least before the 1800s. And men have done the worst atrocities on our planet because of money. 7% of wars were because of religions. And I honestly believe that religions like Judaism and Catholicism and Christianity and Islam have existed as far as and as long as they have because of money. Because if you have enough money, you can buy presidents, you can buy TV ads, billboards, you can buy leaders, you can buy seats. You can buy a worldview. I always say that the political party that has the most money will probably win. Because if you see someone's face on television and on billboards enough, that's probably the person you'll vote for. Not all the time, but the majority of time that's true. There are few corporations on this planet as wealthy as religion. The wealthiest woman or man in the United Kingdom has the title Defender of the Faith. I believe it's now Charles III who holds that title. Why back in the day the most Catholic king of England was the wealthiest ruler in Europe? Why most events in world history is usually intertwined with politics and religion? Why does religion always insert itself into politics, people's sex lives, and people's lives? Because it's money. Churches have to have money to meet a certain group of people. If you don't have steady income coming in, it does limit what projects, events, recruitment, evangelism goes on. If you can't support your existing budget, you have a problem. And there's nothing wrong with giving money to church. Personally, I think it would be better spent giving it directly to, I wouldn't say give poor people money. I think it would be better if you paid off their rent, gave them gas, food. Honestly, I would never give anybody money. I would give resources, food, clothing, things that can get people out of impoverished situations. Getting people jobs is much better than giving them $10 that they may or may not use on controlled substances. And how much money given to churches actually makes it to the hand of poor people is up for debate. And I actually did a class to understand nonprofits. There's no such thing as a nonprofit, because somebody is profiting somehow. And religion only seems to care when people are at their lowest, because that's when they're the most vulnerable. You always wonder why there's a surge in spirituality when there's a hurricane, a domestic terrorist event, or upheaval in politics. Why there's so much Christianity about. Because you're more likely to join a religion when you're at the darkest part of your life than when you're in the best part of your life. And religion loves to target groups and times of people's lives that makes people easy pickings, really. And not all churches do this. There are some churches that run on benevolence and kindness. I've actually been in 1 out of 7 churches in my childhood that actually lived according to the best parts of the Bible. And it's rare. I've been in churches that actually tried to politically sabotage each other, or planting adult content on a pastor's computer so that someone else can get their job. I mean, I have seen every possible scenario in a church. And people can laugh that a church splitting due to the colored carpet is ridiculous. It really isn't. Because when you believe that there's a supernatural entity involved in any choice, decision, or opportunity, every choice becomes the end of the world scenario. If I don't make the right decision, I could run my whole life. It's carpet. But they actually think it's the end of the world. If they bring in a new pastor, churches will tear each other apart because, yeah, you can't just be Christian. You have to be one out of 40,000 type of Christian belief systems. It is so exhausting to be a religious person. The amount of shame and guilt. I mean, people have lost their house, their trailer, their ability to provide for their family because I have to give 10%, which is where the word tithe comes from, a tenth. And nowhere in the Bible does it say you have to give 10%. It just says give a tithe. People will lose their house because they believe that giving 10% to a church is more important than paying your mortgage payment. It's all about image and shame. Some of the most greediest organizations on this planet are backed and founded by religious institutions. And where religion is, abuse follows. When I think about groups like Catholicism, Baptist, United Methodist, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the first thing that pops into my head is child abuse, which is a terrible thing. Where religion is, abuse follows. Because when you're in an environment that is centered around men's advancement, men's will, it doesn't matter what anyone else wants or what any